Hey friends, it's Kate from Venison for dinner, and I'm going to show you how we dry off a milking cow for calving. Okay, so here's how this video is going to shake down. I'm going to explain to you what we're even doing, the process in planning for this, like how you get a cow from producing like 7 gallons of milk a day to dry off safely, and 3 risk factors that would make you want to choose an antibiotic or dry off treatment versus not. So the first 3 milking cows we had were from an organic dairy. So they couldn't use any antibiotics because in the Canadian organic system, if a cow receives antibiotics, they are removed from the organic system and they could be sold to a conventional dairy farm. And also if they're nursing a calf, then that calf also is removed from the organic system. So they never gave any dry off meds, and I never did until we started using, come on Jessaboo, come on. Until we started using Synergy animal products. So this is Jess's last milking before calving. A cow needs minimum 2 months before calving to have a break, to put the extra calories into growing her calf. They also completely regenerate the tissue in their udder, and that takes minimum 6 weeks, I think. Maybe minimum 40 days. Anyhow, it's important that they have dry time. If we have cows that are overlapping in milk, we give cows longer breaks. Jessa got 6 months last time. Another milking cow we had, Clover, she got like 3 months. We definitely try to give them longer breaks. So Mabel behind me and Clover are both due in October. So we're hoping to stagger them next time so that they can both have longer breaks for calving. So dry off medication does not help the cow dry off. What it does is you're putting antibiotics up the cow's teat in that quarter, because the cow has 1 udder and 4 quarters. Jessa only has 3 working quarters. So it just puts antibiotics in there as a preventative. So Synergy animal products, this is Clearacel dry cow udder oil, and it is organic sunflower oil is the base. Sage oil, rose oil, thyme oil, fennel oil, oregano oil, eucalyptus oil, lemongrass oil, grapefruit oil, lavender oil. So I've used this before. You put this up their teat. The first time I ever had to give a cow medication up her teat, I was like, you're joking, right? The cow is going to curb stomp my face, right? And the vet's like, they don't mind. And I'm like, come on, I'm a breastfeeding mother. Don't BS me. Friends, they really don't mind. Apparently goats mind. Cows really don't mind. So I'm gonna show you how we do this. So once your cow is bred, you need to figure out what day they're gonna be due. So Jessa is due October 12th. So then we count back 2 full months, which puts us at August 12th. Now, Jessa was not producing a lot. If Jessa was producing a lot, I would worry more about dry off. And if I was doing that, how I would do it would be like 2 weeks before minimum, 2 weeks before dry off, I would go to once a day milking. If my cow was producing a lot of milk and she didn't have a good if she didn't have a high mastitis risk, because you do have a risk when going to once a day milking when a cow has a mastitis risk, but make sure your cow is fully clear of mastitis before you try to dry her off, right? Okay. So say Jessa was producing like 5 gallons a day. 2 weeks before milking, 2 weeks before dry off. Okay, I'm tired, guys. 2 weeks before dry off, I would go to once a day milking. I don't do any sort of like some people will gradually move their milking times together until then they just milk once a day. No, I just am like, okay, I'm milking once a day now. I just stop milking one of those times and milk once a day. So we dropped morning milking when we went Jessa to once a day. 2 weeks ago now. We dropped morning milking and we actually moved evening milking to milking on average before dinner. Today it didn't work like that. It's 7:40 right now because it's been a really crazy day. So 2 weeks before dry off, we're gonna go to once a day milking. 1 week before dry off, we're going to stop feeding the cow grain. Both of these things will reduce their milk production. I actually stopped feeding Jessa grain in May. It's August 8th right now. In May, I stopped feeding her grain because she went out on grass and Homegirl started gaining weight, and Homegirl was already on the lush side for a milk cow. So she stopped getting grain. She was only getting 5 pounds of grain at that point. Why you don't want your milk cow to be too fat, you want to be able to see a couple ribs here. You can barely see any ribs here on Jessa. You want to be able to see them. The cow's fattest point should be right before calving, and their skinniest point should be 3 months after calving. So calving, they're their heaviest, they're going to drop a bunch, and then they need to rise back up so that by dry off, they've got a good covering, they look in good condition. If you're wondering if your cow is in good condition, look up a dairy cow body condition scoring. Okay, so if your milk cow is too fat at calving, she's going to be more likely to have calving issues. They put on a lot of internal fat. Oh, there's like a huge blinking black wasp right now. That's why she was shifting around. They are going to have troubles calving because the calf, did you see that? The calf can't get turned into the proper position if the cow is too fat. There's too much fat. They can't turn around. They're also more likely to have metabolic disorders after calving. And metabolic disorders are like ketosis and milk fever. So last year, Jessa was dry for 6 months, and that was too long. She got fat. And dairy farmer friend was like, watch her like a hawk. She's at such high risk for having issues because she's too fat for a milk cow. You can barely see her hip bones, and you want to be able to see a milk cow's hip bones. Okay, so then, today is the last day we're milking Jessa. We're going to milk her out all the way, strip her nice and good, and then, using a syringe and these plastic needles, teat cannulas, we're going to put this up there. So this thing, the thing you can put the teat cannula up there, these say they're one-time use, and friends, they really are one-time use. I have 3 because you really can't they crack. They do not last. So they really are one-time use. So Jess is only giving like a gallon of milk right now, which is kind of almost annoying because the letdown's really slow and it takes wild milk for only 1 gallon. Oh well. Okay, so things that would make you want to give a cow antibiotics at dry off. So examples are like Spectromast LC is Spectromast lactating cow. Spectromast DC is dry cow. Cephi-Lac is for lactating cow. Cephi-Dry is for drying off. Today is for lactating cow. Tomorrow is for dry cow. You do not want to give a lactating cow a dry off treatment because there's like a 30-day withdrawal or something like that where you'd have to dump milk. And even at that, Cephi-Dry, 96 hours after calving, you still can't keep the milk for human consumption. So that's a big thing for me too, because I actually, if we have extra colostrum, I like to freeze dry it because colostrum is a superfood. So that's another reason why using an alternative dry treatment is a big deal for us. So Jessa got Klebsiella in this back quarter. A cow has 1 udder, 4 quarters. This quarter got killed. It's called a blind quarter, dry quarter, dead quarter. When she was a heifer, had never had a calf, another heifer sucked on her and brought her into milk and put bacteria up there, and that quarter, it killed the mammary tissue. So that's always been dead. So that's not a risk for mastitis for the rest of the quarters. But this back quarter, this is her second lactation, and at the beginning, she got Klebsiella mastitis, which if you ask any dairy farmer about Klebsiella mastitis, like I wasn't allowed to bring Jessa to someone's bull for her to be bred by their bull. They're like, no, she cannot set foot on our farm. Klebsiella is contagious and it's brutal. I used, it was very minor. So I used antibiotics. They did nothing. It didn't go away. She never was swollen, hard, sore. There was just like little bits, flecks in the milk. So I knew something wasn't right. I could still make cheese. I had no problems making cheese. But something wasn't right. So I sent the milk off to be cultured and it came back as Klebsiella mastitis. So I then treated her with Homeopathics. I put them in her feed twice a day. And whenever I would put them in her feed, the next milking, like so much gunk would flush out of that quarter. It was wild. And then I would stop for a couple days and the gunk would stop flowing. And then I'd give it again for a couple of days and more gunk would flow. Like it was wild, friends. It was amazing. So I did that. I got to look at what it was and I'll put it in right here, what I used. One was like Phytolacca, Sulphur or Hepar sulfur. I'll have to look. Anyhow, there was like 4 different ones that I gave her. And I just put a few of the little white balls in her grain and it was great. So then once the Synergy Animal Products came, Synergy Animal Products has like a Call the Farmer line. And I called and I talked to the guy and he was like, oh, in New York State, they have piles of Klebsiella and they have great success getting rid of it with, what is it called? Excell 7000 and Cellex Gold are 2 of their products. So on their website, they don't have like a lot of information because they can only give so much information because it's not USDA approved. But once you actually order it, like on the bottles, they have like way more information. So take a chance on them, friends. Anyways, since I'm in Canada and they're in the States, it took a couple weeks for them to come. But when they came, I treated her with them, putting it up the teat. So the cool thing is that there's no dumping. Like if you treat 1 quarter with antibiotics, you have to dump all the quarters for days because you're treating for like a few days. And then for 4 days after you're done treating, you have to still dump. So you're dumping milk for like a week, all of it. With the Synergy Animal Products, you're only dumping the milk in the quarter you're treating. And technically you don't have to dump it, but it's kind of greasy because it's an oil base. So I dump it for 1 milking after treatment stops and then go back to consuming it. It's just fine. But you don't actually have to like fully dump it. Same with antibiotics. If you have a calf or pigs, as long as it's not something that's going to be butchered soon, you can feed it to them. So like not laying hens because laying hens are producing eggs, but like younger meat chickens, younger pigs, younger calves, anything that's at least a month from. When I gave Jessa the Synergy Animal Products, the amount of gunk, like it had been like fairly clear, only tiny little bits in the filter sometimes. I gave her that and the amount of shit that came out of that quarter, horrendous. I treated it for like 3 days, twice a day. They say for a week it's going to continue shedding, meaning stuff flushing out. It very much did. So much stuff came out. So much stuff. And then since then, nothing. Absolutely nothing in the filter. Totally clear. No signs of mastitis. The bummer thing is that Klebsiella does really tank their milk production and it doesn't come back. So before that, she was giving like 6 to 7 gallons a day. And then she dropped to like 3 or 4 gallons a day and she never came back. So normally we would have gone to once a day milking much farther before dry off just for the convenience of it. But we kept milking her twice a day until July 23rd. Because I knew if we went to once a day milking, we were going to lose milk production and we needed the milk. Drying off a cow is a really bittersweet thing. On one hand, you're so gall dang tired and ready for a break from milking. But on the other hand, It's the closing of a chapter. This is her second lactation. The second round of us milking her. For 13 and a half months, she nourished her baby. She nourished... Ooh, I just got whacked on the head there. Make good decisions, Kate. We had an extra calf that she fed to. She fed us. A milk cow is such a beautiful thing in a family. She's the queen of the homestead. And so tonight is the closing of her second lactation, the second chapter. It's kind of bittersweet. When we went to once a day milking, Rowan kept coming in the morning after chores. And Marius would be like, you did all your chores? And she'd be like, they didn't milk the cow. And we're like, no, Rowan, we're not milking her in the morning anymore. Well, why not? She was very sassy about it. Anyhow, let's give this dry off. Okay, so sometimes they're frustrated because they're like, dude, I'm done milking. Why are we still here? So if you're at all nervous, just put on the kick bar. If you don't have a kick bar and you have a milk cow, spend yourself the $20 and buy a kick bar. Kick bar, let's put this over here, goes under here and then up on their spine, and it hits a pressure point that makes them like a little off balance if they try to kick you. So it's not going to slow down your meanest cow, but it keeps in line the cow who just is kind of not being very polite. Okay, so we have a syringe, and we have a cannula. My hands are washed in warm soapy water. Some people do like an alcohol swab on the bottom. I don't, because all that's on the end of it is her milk, and then this stuff. Anyhow, don't twist these teat cannulas on too tight. They will crack, and then it will just all leak out the bottom when you try to put it up. Okay, so you're supposed to put 10 to 20 mils up. No. 10 to 15. Yeah. If your dry cow has a problem, you're supposed to 2 days later strip it out and do it again. We do not have a problem. Okay, so this thing has a little... Who's my buzz it? Do you love my English? I'm such an educated person. Goes like this. So we're gonna do the full 15. Yeah, I have enough. We're gonna do the full 15 mils. So, this is the part where you think your cow is going to kick you in the head, and they don't. Okay, so she's clean, she's milked out, and then we're just going to get you can see the light part, the end of the teat, and we're just going to put it up there. And all the breastfeeding mothers grabbed their chests, right? But look, she didn't even flinch. Okay, so we're just going to slowly put it up, because let's not tempt fate, right? So like 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, 3. So I'm going to take like 10 seconds to put it up. Do people in Mississippi count 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi? Like how it's Canadian bacon, but if you're in Canada, it's not Canadian bacon, it's back bacon? Or like Hawaiian pizza. If you're in Hawaii, it's not Hawaiian pizza. Do people in Mississippi count Mississippis? Okay, so when it's done, put this somewhere clean, because we're going to reuse it. We're not going to reuse that part. See how I kept it pinched? And then we're going to massage up to make sure it's infused in that quarter. Oh, we're done milking Jessa. What a thing. Okay, so we're going to try this one again, because I didn't crack it. If you're gentle putting these on and you don't twist too hard, it won't crack. But if it starts leaking, then I'll put a new one on. So the Clearacel is a smaller bottle than their other products. Their other products, sorry, itchy nose, are bigger bottles, but you give bigger doses. You give like 30 mils a quarter. And she's just chewing her cud, friends. She really is totally chill with this. So I haven't used these very many times, but I really think the trick is only just putting this on as much as you need to, not twisting it on as far as it could go down. Because if you put it on as far as it could go down, you're definitely more likely for that to split. They say like man plans, God laughs, right? Marius and I joke about that all the time. So Jessa and Mabel are due close to each other. However, I feel like I've explained this before, but a Jersey cow is pregnant 278 days. An Angus cow, for reference, is pregnant 283 days. So Jessa is due October 12th. If she was a Jersey heifer, she would be pregnant 5 days shorter. So she would be due October 7th. If she was a brown Swiss cow, she would be pregnant 10 days longer, so 288 days, 5 days longer than an Angus. So this is where the complicated thing comes in. Mabel is a Jersey brown Swiss heifer. So her due date, not just just like humans, cows have they're due this day, but then 2 weeks either side, they could give birth. No, friends. Her legit due date is between October 10th and October 25th, Mabel. Then add 2 weeks either side. Am I gonna go crazy watching that cow? Yeah, I am. Yeah. Anyhow, I am hoping so our options are calf share. So separate their calves at night, milk them in the morning. Downside to this is you have to have somewhere good to easily separate two calves. Come on, Jessa. And they love to hold back butterfat and be cranky. And you milk a bunch of skim milk. Rarely do you have a milk cow that actually lets down cream while calf sharing. Second option is to bottle feed the calf. We literally milk straight into the bottle or into a bucket and pour it into the bottle and feed it to the calf while it's still warm. So it goes straight from its mom into a bottle. And we feed them 2 to 3 times a day. But then we would be milking 2 of them, one who has small teats, one who's going to produce a pile of milk. We would be machine milking in winter, which is not always the funnest logistic with freezing things, right? Like, it's really cold here. We're in northern BC, Canada. The third option, which is the one we're playing with, is that Mabel, with her small teats and her heifer production, she's going to produce probably 3 to 4 gallons a day, which is perfect for 2 calves to thrive on. She could feed the calves. We would keep her separate in a pen and she would feed the calves. And Jessa and the other heifer would be together and Jessa would be milked twice a day. The wild cards is here, we don't know if Mabel's a good mom. I know Jessa's a good mom, but Jessa produces enough for 3 to 4 calves. And I'm not putting that many calves on her. That's really hard on them. So it would mean we would need a second cow wintering place. So, keeping water thawed and all that jazz. Feeding them. But it would be the lowest tech way to do it. The most straightforward way to do it is the most labor intensive way. Milk the cows twice a day, feed the calves. This is really bad lighting on me. Anyhow. The fourth kind of way we could manage it is that we cannot just leave them with their calves and not milk them. They are dairy cows. They produce too much milk. They will get mastitis and die if we do not milk them after they calve. They produce too much. They genetically do not produce enough for just one calf. Until their calf is much larger. Like, once their calf is much larger, then they could drink that much milk. But not when they're little. So the other option is that we keep the calves in a separate pen, and twice a day when we go to milk, we put a cow in with the calves drain her while we milk the other cow, and then let the cow back out. And like, it's kind of like she's a nurse cow, but she doesn't have them all the time, which sometimes calves can be hard on a cow's udder, especially multiple calves. So there you go. So there's lots of factors here. One of them could have twins, or a calf could die. We don't really know what's going to happen. There's a lot of wild card things, but I'm really leaning towards one of them being a nurse cow. That's what it's called, nurse cow, nanny cow, where they adopt extra calves. Jersey cows are excellent at adopting extra calves. They love to nurse extra calves. Anyhow, friends, it's time for me to get this milk into the fridge. And one of the reasons we're even drying off Jessa 4 or 5 days earlier than we need to is starting, not tomorrow, but the next day. Tomorrow I get to go to the dentist and get a tooth pulled. Super excited about that. But I don't want a root canal. The more you read about root canals, friends, the less you want one. Anyhow, that's a bit of a tangent. Day after that, I start milking my friend's cow. She's away. We're cow sitting. And their cow's producing a lot more milk. So we're like, you know what, let's just dry off Jessa the few days early so that I only have to deal with milking one cow at a time, because my friend also has 3 goats. So I'll be milking over there, and we'll be getting lots of milk from that.